explore the world without having to leave your kitchen. Join me as I take some of the most popular dishes from around the globe and give them a healthy twist.
Hello and welcome. My name is Bridget Fuliaki Davis. Welcome to Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. Now, in this episode of Healthy Around the World, we are going to be visiting a centuries-old dish that is still just as popular today. In Japan, miso soup is so incredibly popular, some people consume it with every single meal, so up to 3 times a day. Now, miso soup is made by fermenting soybeans, koji, which is a type of fungus, and salt. And that fermentation process can take anywhere from 1 to 3 years, and it's traditionally done using cider barrels, resulting in miso of varying colors, varying strengths, and also lots and lots of different flavors. Now, a good rule of thumb is that the longer the fermentation process, the stronger the flavor, and also the color tends to darken as well. And another great thing about long fermentation is not only does it increase the flavor of the miso paste, but it also greatly increases the health benefits. So miso is a probiotic, so it's really good for building a healthy gut microbiome. Miso is also incredibly nutrient dense and has good amounts of vitamins and minerals like vitamins B, vitamins K, and also minerals like zinc and iron. And thanks to the soya beans in miso, it is also really high in phytoestrogens. So phytoestrogens are plant-derived hormones that can help with things like menopausal symptoms, it can help with osteoporosis, and it can also help to protect our heart and our cardiovascular system. So there's one really cool thing that I want to share with you guys, is that one study I read concluded that regular consumption of miso can help increase the elasticity in the skin, causing miso in Japan to be heralded as a great source of great beauty and youthfulness. So not only will consumption of miso help with watching our weight, it will also greatly improve our gut health, and you will get more beautiful at the same time. So I reckon let's make a beautiful bowl of miso soup now. And in fact, the miso that I'm doing today is part of our boost camp, and it's not too late to join. We start our next boost camp on Monday, September the 6th, 2021, depending on when you're watching this. If you want to join our boost camp, you still have time to do it. All you need to do is, well, leave a link in this description of this video. So if you want to join our boost camp, you still have time to join. And this is one of the dishes that we consume on our boost camp, this loaded miso. So I'm going to be taking the idea of a traditional miso, and I'm going to be adding lots of really delicious and healthy elements to that miso to really boost it up. So we take it from being a side dish primarily to the main event. So we're going to make a main event miso soup tonight. So first thing is, in my pot here, I have my kombu water just coming up to a little bit of a simmer. So kombu, as you guys know, is made by soaking dried kelp, or this kombu as it's known in Japan, bit of dried seaweed, about the size of an A4 piece of paper. So that's probably about that size, maybe those 2 pieces there. And then you soak that and simmer it in very gentle simmer and lots of water. I normally do 4 to 5 liter pot of water with that much kombu. I let it simmer very gently for about 4 to 5 hours. And then what the result is this amazing seaweed infused stock, which I have in here now. So I've got my kombu on, which is great. I'm making enough for 2 serves, so I've got 800 mils of kombu in there, which is around about 1.6 pints of kombu. But the other thing that I've added that you can do, this is an optional extra if you want to, is in my little bowl here, I have shaved bonito flakes, and this is what is used to make dashi, which is the traditional base for kombu. So if you want to, you can add into your 800 mils of kombu water, you can add in a couple of tablespoons of these bonito flakes. They will really create quite an incredible flavor on your kombu, on your miso soup. So if you want to, you can purchase these from your Asian supermarket along with your kombu. Just look for these little flakes known as bonito flakes. So I have my bonito flakes already soaking in here. As I'm heating up my kombu water, my kombu stock, I added a couple tablespoons of bonito, and I'm just going to leave it in there until that water actually comes up to the simmer, which is about to do. So the next step, once you've done that, is you want to take your hot stock or hot kombu and bonito, and we actually want to drain we don't want to have the flakes in the miso, so I am going to be draining it through this little strainer to make sure that I don't get any of the flakes in there, because we're just using it to flavor, and trust me, I can smell it now. The flavor's incredible. I already know the flavor's going to be amazing because I'm smelling it. And the Japanese describe this flavor as a type of umami. So it's a type of savoriness, and really the bonito gives it such an incredible flavor. But as I was saying, that's an optional extra. If you want to keep this dish completely animal free or vegan, don't add the bonito. You can get away with it. In fact, if I'm not using the bonito, what I do suggest you do is put in a couple tablespoons of tamari, which is going to help to bring on the flavor as well. But because I'm using bonito, I don't need any tamari today. So I've done my straining, which is great. I'm going to put this back onto the cooktop, and it's really simple to make. In fact, we're talking dinner in 10 minutes when it comes to this loaded miso. Dinner in 10 minutes is pretty good. So the next thing that we need to think about is actually adding in the miso paste and getting some flavor happening in there. So as you can see, I have quite a dark miso paste. It's up to you what level of miso paste you choose, and it usually comes in 3 different strengths or 3 different flavors, from a very light miso, which is kind of a light blonde color, up to something that's quite dark like that. Look, don't be put off if you do want to try the dark one. It is pretty fabulous, and you may find you don't have to add as much to your pot when you're making it. So I am going to be making, as I said, quite a dark one, and using my miso paste. Depending on how strong you like it, and depending on also, as I said, what color your paste is, what type of paste you're using, will probably determine how much you're going to be using. So I'm going to be putting my pot back onto to bring it up to a simmer. I don't really want it to boil, and then what I'm going to be doing as it's coming up to that simmer is I'm just going to be incorporating, and this is quite a cool way of doing it, incorporating the miso just into my little strainer here, and just using my chopsticks and just swirling it in that wonderful stock there and getting it all going. So as I was saying, depending on how strong you like it, what type of paste you're using, you may find for 2 serves, you might use anywhere from 2 to 3 tablespoons of your miso paste. And the really cool thing about miso paste is it lasts for a long time when you store it in the fridge. So don't be put off if you buy quite a big container from your Asian supermarket, which is where I buy mine from. Don't be put off if it looks like quite a lot. It will last for remember, it's fermented, sometimes up to 3 years. So if you store it in your refrigerator well, just put it into a container, a sealed container, it can last for a long time in your fridge. And the other really cool thing about miso is not only Can you use it to make soup, of course, which is what we're doing, loaded miso soup. But you can also use it for really cool things, like use it to marinate chicken and make it into a glaze and put it on your salmon. It also makes an amazing dressing as well. So there's lots of things you can do with your miso soup. Your miso soup is only one of those things. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a taste because I just want to see what's happening in my pot, so I'll know whether I need to add any more. Oh my gosh, heavenly already. I reckon it just doesn't need much more. Probably just another half tablespoon is going to be plenty for my soup. So if you're making traditional miso as a side dish, so to accompany other things, all you would need to do now that you've got your miso paste in your broth or in your stock, the only thing that you would probably need to do next is to add in some wakame. And this is, once again, we're using dried seaweed, and sea vegetables are so incredibly good for us, like so amazing. That's why I use kombu, that's why I use wakame, because these sea vegetables have amazing amounts of iodine, which is really good for controlling and regulating your metabolism. And as you know, you need a good metabolism in order to burn fat. So adding sea vegetables into your diet is going to increase the iodine content in your food. And wakame is kind of like, you can kind of see it's black and it's crunchy and it's basically small pieces of dried seaweed. And you want to add about a tablespoon of wakame into that. And if you've ever had miso soup, like in a Japanese restaurant, and you're wondering what the floating green thing's in it, it's basically wakame. That's what it is. It's very cool. So wakame goes in there. And of course, just as that side dish, remember we're going traditional first, is we're going to go for some tofu. Now tofu is soybean, so once again we're talking about those phytoestrogens. It's really, really good for us. It's made from soybeans. It's basically cooked soy milk. And we're going to be adding in our tofu. Don't be afraid of tofu. I am using a firm one, but don't be afraid of it. So just, you probably need to add, it really depends, but I like to put in, a good handful of diced tofu, something along those lines. And right now what you have, I'm just going to turn that temperature down. Right now what you have basically is a very traditional miso soup, done and dusted. But because we're making loaded miso today, I'm going to be adding a few more bits and pieces. You can see them on my tray here. So one of the things that I'm going to be adding is and this is up to you. You can decide here what you want to add into your soup, because basically the soup is done now. Like, it's that simple, right? You've made the miso base. Now we're just going to play around with some really cool ways to bulk it up a bit, and as I was saying, make it into the main event. So I'm going to be putting in some thinly sliced mushroom. I'm also going to be adding some spring onion. I love these fresh crunchy snow peas, so I'm going to be adding a few of those as well. I have some asparagus, which I'm going to show you. It's a really cool way to add asparagus. If asparagus is not in season where you are, you could also consider adding zucchini instead, which is really cool. And I'm also going to finish it off with a hard-boiled egg, just for that little bit more protein, even though it's got a lot of protein in here already. And the last thing that I'm going to be adding, just to really bulk this dish out, is in my little bowl here that I have draining. These are konjac noodles. So konjac is a plant, and it's a non-starchy plant, and it creates these really cool, gluten-free, look how stringy they are. They're really awesome. So these konjac noodles, they are so incredibly low in calories. In fact, one portion, which is around about 100 grams or 3.5 ounces to go with your soup, is less than 10 calories. So this is a really nice way to bulk out your dish, give you more plants, which is really, really important, give you more plants, but also do it with basically no calories. I mean, it's pretty good stuff, and they do have a really wonderful noodle texture, which I absolutely love. So I'm going to be adding those as well. They don't need any cooking. You literally take them out of the packet, you drain them, drain the liquid from them, give them a rinse and then drain them, and then you just add them into the hot broth. It's that simple. Like, seriously, it's that simple. So when it comes to my additives, The first thing I'm going to show you is how to prepare the asparagus. This is actually going to go on last. So you guys know, right, how to know which is the good part of the asparagus to eat and which is the woody end that's not as nice. And the way that you do that is hold your asparagus in your hands like that and then just give it a bit of a snap. And where it naturally snaps off, this part here is usually the woody part, and I tend to throw away the really woody ends like that to get rid of them, and then usually add those parts into pickles, pickled vegetables, really, really nice. So don't completely throw them away, but this is the part that we want to add into our miso. So I'm taking up my wide peeler, and I'm just going to be peeling down and making these gorgeous little strands of asparagus that are going to go onto it. So this is a nice way to add it to the top of your soup, but don't waste it. Like, asparagus is really good eaten raw, by the way. So if you were just to go along and cut it really thin as well, so not only do you get the lovely strips of asparagus that we're going to be adding, but you also can add in little crunchy bits for a little bit of texture. As I was saying, asparagus, keep that part, asparagus is really wonderful to add to the soup. Doesn't need any cooking. Doesn't need any cooking. In fact, none of the ingredients that you see me using today, I'm actually going to be putting anywhere near the heat. I'm just going to be adding them to the hot broth. So I'm just going to slice a few more of those asparagus rounds because, let's be honest, they're gorgeous. Shave a few as well, just because. And all those bits and pieces, we don't like to waste anything here in Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, are going to go into my pickle jar. I just keep on topping up my vegetable pickles. So that's our asparagus done. If you can't, like I was saying, get your asparagus, you can use zucchini as well. Spring onions. This is once again just going to add a bit of colour, but also just a hint of, you know, I'm not going to say bitterness, but you know, if raw onion can be a little bit bitter, it definitely has a bite to it. So we're kind of adding a little bit of a bite when it comes to the spring onion. So just a few good slices of that. It's going to go on the top. Let's take our mushroom. I've just taken off the stalk there, given it just a rub down. You don't want to wash your mushrooms, just a rub down's enough. But you definitely want to slice your mushroom nice and thin. Once again, we're not going to be cooking this in that pot. I mean, that soup is just amazing the way it is. And we just need to add all these bits and pieces to our soup bowl, to the hot broth, without having to cook anything. So slice them nice and thin. As I was saying, you don't have to use mushrooms if you don't want to. You can decide the type of vegetables that go into your soup. Just make sure that they're vegetables that don't need cooking. Like, you wouldn't want to put a whole bit of carrot in there. That wouldn't work. Snow peas, just taken off the stalk there. So carrots, you know, they're obviously quite crunchy and hard, and so you really need to cook them. But things like snow peas obviously don't need to cook. Asparagus, mushrooms, zucchini, things along those lines. So with the snow peas, once you've deveined them, you've taken off the stringy part, once again, just slice them thinly. I love adding snow peas for the crunch and the texture and the sweetness as well that they have is pretty exciting. So that goes on just like that. Now it's time to plate up. Oh, let's just cut the egg in half first. I don't know how I cook this, I can't remember. I think it's kind of, I can't even see the yolk. I'm gonna cut the other one. What happened? I want you to see the yolk. Oh, there we, oh, beautiful. I love my eggs just like that. All right, let us plate up now. This is, like I said, this is a 10-minute dish. If you've got the eggs already hard boiled, you've got the kombu made, this is dinner in 10 minutes. So, grabbing up my bowl, nice big deep bowl, and as I was saying, we don't have to cook these, we just have to heat them. So I'm going to be adding about 100 grams of the konjac noodles are going on first, they're going into the bottom, and then just using my hot broth, it's going to finish it, it's going to heat up the noodles perfectly. This is wonderful. Look, can you guys see how good it is? I hope you can see. And then we're just going to ladle that in. Like that. Good amounts of soup, some lovely tofu in there as well. All that wakame. Wakame is so good for us. So, so good for us. All right, good amount of soup. Woo! This is loaded already. It's looking good. Okay, and now we're gonna put in some egg in there. We're gonna add in some of our mushrooms, floating some mushrooms. Like you could have a big pile of all these amazing vegetables just kind of hanging around on top. Put some snow peas. Oh my gosh, asparagus. Oh, gotta get those ones too. Love those. And of course our spring onions are gonna go in there. Move those all to the side. Oh, wonderful. Maybe I want another little sprig of, I've already got them all in. There it is. One more little asparagus. Just going on top there, looking gorgeous. And all I'm going to do now to finish off my loaded miso soup is I have in my little container here, I have some sesame seeds that I toasted just for a little bit of flavor, and I also have a little bit of nori, once again, sea vegetable, that I chopped up as well. So I'm just going to finish off our soup with a sprinkling of those beautiful sesame seeds, nori on top, and you have quite literally the perfect meal in a bowl ready for you, my loaded miso soup. Thank you so much for joining me. And of course, you've got to serve it with a spoon and chopsticks, of course. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Healthy Around the World. If you want to get this recipe, go on over to Modkai, which is our recipe sharing platform. I'll be sharing this recipe in full. Of course, you can join our boost camp. I will be sharing the link for our boost camp as well. And if you want to, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, Pinterest, of course on Modkai as well. I look forward to seeing you back in the kitchen for another episode where we go to another beautiful part of the world and cook one of their amazing, gorgeous dishes. Thank you guys, it's been a pleasure. Take care, be well, be safe, and I'll see you next time back here in the kitchen. Bye.